Does being a death witch involve doing work as a psychopomp for you? This is a question that was sent in for Ask a Witch, and like many other questions recently, it overlaps significantly with our death ritual and magic classes. I will note here that there is an entire half a year worth of a timeline of death ritual and magic classes that are being posted to our Patreon, which you can find at patreon.com/Sanctum of the Craft. And I do intend to eventually move that series to YouTube, but it's been significantly delayed by us prioritizing our crisis preparedness content. I think that why we're prioritizing that is fairly clear from the circumstances around the world that anyone can observe for themselves. But if you're interested in that content, it is up on our Patreon, and you can find it at patreon.com/Sanctum of the Craft. Now, before I answer this question, let's define the term psychopomp. Psychopomp comes from the Greek term psychopompos, which means guide of souls, and that's exactly what they are. They guide a soul onwards after death. Now, what they guide them towards varies significantly from culture to culture. It might be directly to an afterlife realm, like heaven, but it might also be to a trial, a judgment before moving on to an afterlife realm. It might determine what kind of afterlife realm they're going to, or it might be guiding them to their next stage in the reincarnation cycle. And as I said, it varies. And what exactly a psychopomp is varies significantly as well. In some cultures, they're an ancestral spirit. In others, they're a deity, and there's a lot of variation. The question specifically was, do I act as a psychopomp? And I wondered at first if maybe they meant when I'm doing hospice work. And the answer in that case is no. I sit with the dying and I keep them company. In some cases, I do protection, spells and workings while they're in a vulnerable state. I provide blessings at the family's request, if that is welcome, and I comfort them as they go. And sometimes I'm there just to spiritually recognize and honor their passing. I also do funeral and memorial services, although I haven't done one in a very long time. But in that case, I'm not acting as the psychopomp, and they don't always belong to a culture or a faith tradition or religion or spirituality that believes in psychopomps, though sometimes they do. I've been known to put out offerings for psychopomps if there is a psychopomp that they believe that is going to be coming to escort them, or that their family believes is coming to escort them. But I do not personally act as the psychopomp in those cases. However, there are two circumstances in which I would say that I act as a psychopomp. In Jungian psychology, the psychopomp is a mediator between the unconscious and conscious realm, sometimes personified as a wise person. How wise I am, I could not personally tell you. However, it is part of the duties that I provide to my community and that I've been providing for decades now, to act as a mediator between these realms for students and clients. Sometimes I act as this mediator by helping someone through an entheogenic journey. Sometimes I act as this mediator by helping someone through a guided meditation. Sometimes I teach someone how to make this journey on their own. I take private students. Some of my students right now are in particular trying to learn to leave their bodies behind and journey in other realms. Some of them are trying to learn to journey within, some are trying to learn to journey without, some are trying to learn both. I have a student who's really working on having a flying journey without the aid of entheogens. And I do have currently one private death client who is trying to learn to more communicate with the realms of the dead and with the dead within those realms. So in the Jungian sense, yes, I act as a psychopomp. Additionally, in the more traditional interpretation, there is one way you could say that I act as a psychopomp, and that is when I am guiding someone through a journey where they die and they go to the afterlife realms with me as an escort or with me as a guide. And I've only done this a few times, a dying ritual where I've guided someone the same way that my teacher once upon a time repeatedly guided me, and the way that some other teachers have guided me. We talked about that the last time. Yes, I have done that for students, and I have done that for apprentices, and I have done that in the context of private ritual that I have been asked to guide for people. So in that case, yes, I have acted as a psychopomp, but to say so feels incredibly arrogant. I'm a person. I do not believe myself to be a particularly wise person, although I do my best to make good choices. I do not believe myself to be in any way a deity. There's a whole rant on that in our rants. I am just a person, and in many cases I feel very small and limited, and it feels very arrogant to use the term psychopomp to describe myself. However, that is the role I'm fulfilling in those rituals. I think that I need to sit with this a bit myself and figure out why it is that I'm willing to perform the role for others and to serve that way in my community, but it makes me uncomfortable to use the word to describe it. I think I need to figure out why that bothers me, and see if I can make my peace with it. And if I can't, I guess I probably shouldn't use that term for myself. But I digress. I hope that this answered your question. Please feel free to send other questions. You can send them in the comments below, or you can email them to us at staff@sanctumofthecraft.org, or you can join our Discord, because we do have an entire Ask Witch portion of our Discord, and we often answer those questions in text form without them ever making it to YouTube. Like last night I was asked how I got wax off mirrors, and I just answered that rather than turning it into a YouTube video. Okay. What do you think? Do you think that a living person can serve as a psychopomp if they're guiding someone through a ritual where they die and move through the afterlife realm and then are guided back to their body? Do you think that that counts as being a psychopomp, or do you not? And if you do think that that counts as someone being a psychopomp, is that something that you would ever seek out a wise person in your community to have performed for you? Why or why not? Please remember to like and subscribe, and potentially share our content with others if you feel that it would be enriching for them. Be safe out there, everyone.